Hey, what's up, guys? So Adam Bannon over here is one of our strength and mobility coaches within our agency. So I'd love for you to just start off by discussing a bit more about what you do and how you help people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm 29 years old. I'm from Toronto, Canada. And you guys know where that is, big city.
Of course.
So I've been in the strength and mobility space for, I guess, 5 to 6 years now, completed a 4-year kinesiology degree, two other diplomas in nutrition and fitness and health promotion. And I started to kind of realize over the years that the people that are also in pain also generally aren't in shape. And the things that fix both are generally kind of the same thing. And I started to realize that not a lot of people were talking about this. You know, people talk about weight loss. Oh, you need a personal trainer. You need to go on a diet. Or if you're in pain, oh, you need to go, for physio or take this medicine. Nobody was really talking about the foundations. So that's kind of what I built my program on with the help of you guys as well, is really teaching people, 35 to 55 in that age group, really the foundations that can help them reduce their pain and get in shape for life and no more quick fixes.
Fantastic. So the next question is, what problems were you facing prior to working with us in the Team at Growthology agency? And why did you decide to invest with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always knew I had what it took to help people. Like I said, I have like every credential under the sun. I've worked with clients for years in rehab and personal training spaces, but my Instagram didn't really show that. Right. And unfortunately, you can say fortunately or unfortunately, but Instagram is very much about that first impression, right? Like it's really a popularity contest, sad to say. So I needed my Instagram to kind of match who I was, like who I knew I was. Because I'd see, other coaches who I knew I had way more credentials than, way more knowledge than, humbly saying. So I thought, okay, how am I going to get my Instagram to reflect who I know I really am? And ultimately, what I saw from you guys, it made sense that it would be a great fit.
Awesome. So the next question is, how have things changed since you started working with us a few months back?
Yeah, so I guess it's been since the start of summer, I want to say. So honestly, things have changed tenfold, like not only just in my business, but in terms of my offer entirely. We can get into this a little bit more, but my offer was very much one-on-one based before coming to you guys, and we've kind of helped develop it to still have that one-on-one touch, but more for that elite clientele.
Exactly.
And kind of more of that group supportive based coaching is kind of more where I'm at right now. But in terms of my business, like I was lucky to sign up maybe one client a month beforehand. And since relaunching, going through your course, it's been at least like one client a week steady since my relaunch. So definitely a big changes for sure.
Gotcha. Love to hear it, my man. So you said you were at like about one client a month, right? And also like your Instagram wasn't exactly matching up to the size of your business, right? So like what was like the impact of your Instagram not really matching up to the appearance of your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think it had a huge impact in terms of how many people responded to me. I've noticed like it comes in flows, but I've definitely noticed a more consistent response rate, more consistent follow back rate since I have more of that elite first impression now. And it's kind of like, I like it to almost dating apps, kind of a funny analogy. Like you're obviously going to get more responses on those if you have a more higher elite first impression. It's kind of the same with your Instagram too. Like if you're reaching out to prospects, more likely they're going to respond to you if you look the part a little bit more. You look more high end than just the average person trying to DM, like cold bound DM you. So I'd say a huge impact.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what we teach is like that first impression. Everybody judges you, even if you don't like to admit it. Everybody judges you those first 3 seconds someone looks at your page. And then also just another question is like, what was like the impact of like only doing like one-on-one for you? Obviously, you told us like we helped you kind of go more in the group setting and make it a little more scalable. So like, what was the impact on you personally, on your business and your life, only doing one-on-one at the time?
Yeah, so for one-on-one, anybody who maybe has done one-on-one coaching before or is maybe hasn't is thinking of getting into it, it's more time consuming than you think. Because if say you have a 3-month program, depending on how often you're going to get on calls with people, I hear some people talking about, oh, I do weekly coaching calls and I customize workouts every week. And I customize a nutrition plan every week, and they're charging like 1K or 1,200 for all that work, all that time. So you can quickly even think in your head, like, how many clients is it going to be before you literally have no time on your hands? probably maybe 5 to 10 most. And like 10 is like absolute max, like you're completely burnt out. So I thought, okay, in order to get a 6-figure business, you can't really have that model, right? So working with you guys really kind of helped me realize, like there's always going to be that niche that maybe they want one-on-one. Maybe number one, they can afford to pay it, you like them, and you can actually help them. But for the other people, how can they actually take that first step to get towards their goals? In my case of pain reduction, better energy, reaching their weight loss goals. Well, maybe they don't need as much of that one-on-one support. They're just kind of looking to get started. And maybe it's less of a financial barrier for them as well. Because at the end of the day, we all want to make money, but we also want to help more people. And personally, I feel more, kind of aligned with myself if I'm helping more people. And if there's somebody that I can get them in the door at, say, $500 to $600, which is still high ticket, maybe a little bit of a downsell, and they start taking action, they get the ball rolling, I'm actually changing that life versus them not being able to afford $1,500, $2,000 for one-on-one, and them still being in the same place 12 months from now.
100%. And obviously that's kind of like why we all do this, right? It's not just about the money. It's not just about the profits. Like we realize like Growthology, like, yes, like if we close a client, like we benefit for like a minute, but we transform our clients' lives forever with the strategy, systems, and all the support we give them. So definitely 100% agree with that. So let's talk about like more about like how we exactly helped you, right? So like what would you say are like the top 3 things in Growthology that really helped you out, grow your business and grow your revenue?
Yeah, definitely. I want to start with content because that was something even my previous business coach, and he was great, on the intrinsic part of business, but that was something they kind of talked about was like post as much as possible, make sure you're showing up every day. And quite honestly, I was getting burnt out from that. So it was almost refreshing with you guys going through the course, learning about, it's quality over quantity, to show up more in your stories, but your feed is more of that first impression, which helped me a lot. It put me a lot at ease that, listen, I can post once a week, twice a week max, but when I do post, make sure it's high elite content, right? So, excuse me. So yeah, I made sure that now when I post, I have elite thumbnails. I put more time into each post, right, and make sure when I do post, it actually catches the eye of my potential client on my news feed. They don't just skip over it because they see my posts every day. Oh, there's another post from Adam, skip through it, right? They're more likely to actually look at it now. It catches their eye because it's more high quality. So that's probably number 1. Number 2 would probably be the help with the followers and actually having that first impression. That's helped a ton in terms of converting people in conversations, getting them to reply. Look, again, like I said, looking like I know who I was. I have the experience, I have the education, but that kind of just reinforces, okay, this person is legit. People more likely to reply, because in today's day and age of instant gratification, short attention spans, you need to catch their attention super fast. And, whether we want to admit it or not, the followers is almost like the first thing that people's eye catches. So that'd probably be number 2. And then I'd say number 3 probably is actually having a framework of conversations, because conversations used to just drag out for me a ton. I'd go back and forth with them. It would kind of go stale. I have a really hard time booking people to calls, and using your closing call framework, tweaking it rather for my niche. It's a lot easier now to actually identify who's a good prospect and get them to a call quickly, because as we know, time kills all deals. So I definitely say those are the 3 main things.
All right, 100%. So let's talk about more about like the content, right? So like what specifically did you change with the content? Obviously you said you're posting only 1 to 2 times a week instead of every single day. Was there anything in particular about your content that really leveled up after you joined us?
Yeah, so definitely getting professional photo shoots was huge, like probably the biggest game changer in terms of the content. I get way more engagement now on those posts. People reply a lot more because I look more legit, right? And that was something I never really learned before working with you guys. Was I thought it was totally cool to post iPhone pictures all the time. But I realize now that in order to catch people's attention, you gotta invest in your page, right? So that's probably been number 1. And I'd say number 2 with the content is actually having a cycle. I used to just post like value, which was great. It would help people, but I almost kind of became like a tips page, which people kind of use, but they never buy from you. So actually working with you guys, learning kind of the content strategy, the cheese cycle. I won't give too much of it away, but learning how, to kind of cycle your content in terms of, okay, like learn to build that know, like, and trust. That's as important as actually giving value. You still want to obviously give value, give more than you receive, but actually taking time in your content to build that relationship. That was something I definitely wasn't doing enough or at all prior to working with you guys.
Exactly. Like one thing that I will say we do teach is we never ever teach to post only one type of content. It'll be like playing like the same note in the piano. Nobody wants a dull note, right? Everybody wants like a melody, different types of content that actually develops that relationship with your audience. All right. We're not going to give all the secrets away in this interview, but that's just a quick little preview. So now let's talk about the followers and the engagement, right? So like once you receive the followers and engagement, like how did that affect your business in particular? Like when you finally got that social proof, and like when people look at your page, now they see, hey, Adam, instead of having like 500 followers, now has 10 to 15,000 followers. Instead of having 10 likes, he has 500 likes and 50 comments. So how exactly did that change your business?
Yeah, so I think within the first 2 weeks, I closed, I can't remember, it was like 3,200. I was still only doing one-on-one coaching then. But immediately after having that proof, instantly people that maybe were quiet and weren't responding on DMs, I got a couple more calls booked, and I actually happened to close those people pretty much right away. So it was within like 2 weeks, I think I did like 3,200 in sales. So I'm like, wow, like right away. That's, I mean, obviously like comes and flows. Sales is a numbers game. So I had 2 wins right off the bat, but definitely 100%. It had a lot to do with having that better first impression. And then it kind of only got better as I went along, had the second offer. And then my page, I started to kind of develop more of that 3-column approach and more of that elite first impression. But right away, like the followers, that instantly gives you credibility. And it's like a subconscious thing, I think, for people. They're almost more likely to respond to you at that point. So right away, like I noticed a huge impact in terms of the comments. Kind of the same thing, like nobody, and you guys talked about this, nobody really wants to be the first person for anything. Like even in school, nobody wanted to put their hand up first. Nobody wanted to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like volunteer. Nobody wanted to volunteer for something to be the first one to go first, right? It's kind of same in the comments. Like if you leave something, a call to action, like, hey, like, comment this if you want this, or comment whatever. If people see an empty comment spot, they almost don't want to be isolated, right? So having the comments there definitely helps people feel more comfortable. Like, yes, I'm interested. I want to comment. Other people are commenting for sure. So I'd say both of those were definitely huge right off the bat in my business, definitely.
You're good. Okay, for sure. And then let's talk about the last thing that you said, right? So you said you finally streamlined your conversation process, right? Where now you finally consistently book calls. So like before working with us, how many calls were you booking with your old system, and what exactly were you doing with the old system? And then working with us, how is your closing or how has your booking call system changed? And how many calls do you book now?
Yeah, so let me try to kind of think back. It's been a few months. So basically, I didn't really have a script before. My old coach was kind of like, I don't believe in scripts, natural conversations all the way, et cetera, be human, which I agree. You do have to be human. But for me, I always like frameworks. I always like systems for things because I always think about long-term, how can I eventually hand this off? And if I'm doing the conversations and I'm outreaching forever, then it's very hard to hand that off to a VA to help kind of increase volume. So I still wanted a framework, but still want to be human at the same time. So what I used to do was I'd always look for opportunities to kind of give value. Like, here's my free guide, here's this, here's that, looking for opportunities and then booking calls, which can still work. But I was kind of getting frustrated that there wasn't really a system to kind of get there. It was like people were taking my free stuff, but were thinking that that's all they needed, that they didn't actually need to book a call and take that next step. So with you guys, the framework that has helped a lot is actually identifying sooner, is this a possible prospect or not, right? More identifying questions, still giving them value, but kind of giving them like a really high valued resource once they book a call.
Exactly.
That's something that's really kind of helped a lot is you identify the number one that they're interested, that they have a need, it's a priority for them, and that you can actually help them. And then, okay, take the next step. And then once between actually getting them on a call and you booking it, giving them that resource to warm them up, but also provide value, that's been a game changer for booking more calls. So before I was lucky to get maybe like 2 to 3 calls a week. And this coming week, I have like 6 or 7 booked. And that's even with being sick last week and not really, pushing full volume out. So it's just a much faster, streamlined process. And some people might think, oh, well, that's salesy and whatnot. For me, it's more okay, like actually identifying who can I help, who wants the help, who needs it, and is their priority. That way, you're helping more people sooner, and you're then having more of an impact. So kind of flipping it. I'm not just trying to push volume for the sake of volume, but I'm pushing volume and identifying people sooner so that I can help more people. So that's been a huge game changer, I would say, for sure.
100%. So now that you had the good content strategies, right? You know exactly what to post. You have the followers, you have the engagement, so you have that first impression. Then finally, you have the booking call system where you can consistently book calls and weed out everybody who's not serious and book your ideal prospects, right? With all that in mind, and then now that you're closing about a client a week now instead of a client a month, what would you say is the impact of growthology in your business and your life, right? Like, how is closing one client a month now instead of one client a week instead of one client a month impacting your life?
So it's impacted it crazy to the point where like very soon I'm looking at hiring a VA. It's just given me a lot more comfort because I had I guess you could say like a well-respected, safe job back in March before I left. I had a hospital job and, a job that was comfortable for a lot of people, right? Eventual pension, all that stuff. Most people would want to sit on that, ride out 35 years and, coast to the sunset. So for me to actually kind of now get validation, like, yes, I made the right decision. The numbers I'm seeing now have, number one, put me at ease that I can support myself. I don't have that fear anymore of, oh my gosh, do I have to go back and get another job? But now it's actually seeing that, okay, I have the systems now. If I just increase the input, the output's going to increase as well, knowing that it's literally, this is the lowest it will be, and it's only going to go up from here. That just makes me more excited to wake up every day, knowing that there's unlimited potential as long as I keep putting in the work. So I would say like it's changed everything for me in terms of my outlook, but also mental health for sure. Because my job, I was getting quite burnt out with the pandemic. It just wasn't fulfilling really anymore. And I didn't feel like I was helping people as much as I could because I was only helping them with that one piece, right? I'd only help them with their rehab, but I couldn't ever help them with their lifestyle or their strength or anything, right? Same thing with personal training. It'd be okay, side cash, but I can only help them with their strength. I couldn't help them with their lifestyle or their mobility. There was never really the system to help them with all 3 legs of this tool. So now I feel like I have that system. And I feel like now that I have the systems, because I didn't ever study business, I was a kinesiology major. Now that I have proper business systems, I can actually scale now and eventually build that freedom. So honestly, I would say it's been totally worth it. Total game changer.
Sure, that's what we like to hear. And you've been working with us for a couple months now. So you've had a couple other business coaches as well, correct?
Yeah, one other business coach. Yeah.
Sure. So how would you rate your experience working with us and the team at Growthology Agency 1 through 10? And what would you say distinguishes us from your other business coaches?
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely say at least a 9. And in terms of the difference, definitely what made you guys different was actually that first impression. Like a lot of other business coaches, they talk more about here's the metrics you need to track. Here's, how, they're good, but a lot of them don't talk about, okay, having that initial first impression. It's a lot of like post and hope and grow your audience slow and painfully. And the reality is on a lot of these platforms, maybe minus TikTok now, it's very, very hard to scale your audience to like 10K plus without assistance, right? So that's probably been the number one thing, is actually building that initial credibility, which kind of made you guys stand out. Like initially, honestly, I thought you guys, and this is just me being honest, I thought it literally was just, okay, help you with your followers, help you with the comments, and that was it. I didn't realize actually afterwards that you teach pretty much as much value on the business side as a business coach does, in addition to actually getting the first impression. So that's something that I realized once I got in, and I'm like, wow, like honestly, for the price, like from what I paid my business coach, like if I could have done it over, I probably would have went with you guys from the start if I would have found you guys sooner. So.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who's on the edge of whether or not to invest with us?
Honestly, do it. Like the reality is you're only going to get as far as you're willing to invest in yourself, especially if you're in the coaching space. If you expect people to invest in you, I feel like you also kind of have to have that mindset of you be willing to invest. Like it's very hard for me to ask somebody for 1,500, 2,000 bucks for a high ticket one-on-one coaching program if I've never paid that money myself. So I think if you're a real coach, if you're actually in this for the long haul, number one, you're going to shortcut your process to success because you actually have people teaching you their mistakes. And, people say, oh, learn from your mistakes is smart, but it's smarter to learn from somebody else's who's actually been there before. So if you're not willing to invest in yourself, how are you going to ask people to invest in you? So that's kind of something I've always lived by. And the reality is, okay, if you think you'd like to have or desire to have a 6-figure plus coaching business, I don't want to totally give away your prices, but what is a few $1,000s invested up front? What is that going to be long-term for you? And I think a lot of people, they really think about it, they can make it happen if they really want it. They have access to loans, line of credit, down payments for things. You can always get creative. So always ask yourself, number one, do I really want this? Number two, how can I afford it? Not can I? That's the number one rule from Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? So I would say if you're on the fence, just do it and figure it out later. You know what they say, like jump out of the plane and build a parachute on the way down. That's what I would suggest. And honestly, like you never regret investing in yourself. You never regret spending on coaches, because even if you don't get to 10K a month in 30 days or 90 days, as long as you do the action steps, you might get there in 3, 6, 9 months. As long as you keep moving there, you will get there. It's just a matter of time. So I wouldn't also say like, don't put pressure that you have to be at that by a certain number of days. But if you're on the fence, like the sooner you do it, the better, the sooner you're going to be actually at your goal.
100%. And so let's talk about you personally, right? Was there anything in particular that almost made you not join Growthology? Or was there anything like really making you hesitant about investing in us?
Yeah, so like any other human being, I mean, I have my objections and thoughts too. I like to think on things, but I think for me, the biggest thing was, I already invested in a business coach. Yeah, I've got some results, but I've already spent a lot of money. I kind of want to pay off that first. These are all things I thought of in my head, right? So, but at the end of the day, I saw the value that you guys provided, and I saw almost the potential for instant return. And I knew that it's what I needed. And I was willing to, just because my first investment didn't fully pan out within the time frame, I wasn't scared to invest again. So that's something I'd recommend to a lot of people. It might not be the first coach you invest in that gets you to those 10K months, but as long as you're willing to learn something from it and not be scared to invest again, because all the best entrepreneurs, 6 and 7 figures, they invest in themselves times and times over. So don't think, oh, I invested once, it doesn't work. That's the wrong mindset to have. So for me, I was that was the reason, is like, oh, I already invested in a business coach. I've done this once. What's going to be different this time? Those are a couple of things I thought about, but at the end of the day, the value that you guys, that I saw you provided, definitely trumped all of that, obviously. So it was well worth it.
Gotcha, man. Love to hear it. And yeah, exactly. That's probably our number one objection that we probably face, and we know exactly how to handle it, by the way. But most of our clients always say like, oh, I already have a business coach. I already have a business mentor. And obviously I taught you how to handle that same objection if anybody says, I already have a personal trainer, right? The key is to differentiate yourself on the market and bring something unique to the market that's totally different than anybody else has seen. And obviously, as you know, nobody else in the industry does what we do, specifically with the credibility, the branding, the relationships, all of that. Nobody else does it. So let's talk about that in particular now, right? So like, what would you say in terms of Growthology, like in terms of like all the different features from the community, the support, the program, the engagement group, any of that, like what would you say is like your favorite part of Growthology?
Definitely the Discord community. I had never been on Discord prior, but it's honestly a place where it kind of feels like family. And I didn't have that in my previous business coaching experience. It was very much one-on-one. So I had my business coach, but I didn't really know other people that were kind of going through the same thing. I knew one friend who I still kind of do work with, who he went through the program, but I didn't really know anybody at my stage because he was definitely ahead of me. So actually seeing people in the community that are on the same path as you, it keeps you motivated, keeps you accountable. So that was a game changer, and actually made me then create a Discord community for my business because I realized, okay, I was coaching these people one-on-one, but they don't really see other people going through their fitness journey in my case, or their journey to feel better or get out of pain. So I needed to create that for my business too. So that was definitely a huge game changer. And the engagement group is awesome. It definitely helps with comments on your posts and just, and you start to see in there the people that take action regularly every week, the people that post every week. You get to know everybody. It's definitely been great. But I would also say the course as well is probably my favorite because you can go through it at your own pace. It's very well structured. Renzo, you're very well spoken in it. And the videos are short enough in length where it's not a big commitment each time. Like you can watch 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. If you're on a lunch break, you can watch a couple of videos and slowly go through it, take some notes. It's not a huge like, oh my gosh, the next video is 90 minutes. When am I going to find that time to watch it? You can go through it at your own pace and it's very understandable. You do great drawings and definitely like explain things well, which helped me make my course as well. So I would definitely say the community is number one. That's what's honestly made me stay. The course was very, very well done, but also I would also say the calls as well. The weekly Q&A calls are honestly, the value on those is well above and beyond the monthly fee. And I schedule those. I try to go to as many as possible because even if there's a question I don't have, something somebody else asks, I maybe didn't even think of, and I learn from it and I take notes from it. So definitely those three things, but I'd say number one is the community.
Gosh, you love to hear. And this is probably one of the final questions. Simply said, are you happy with the investment you made with us?
100%. Absolutely. I would do it again. And I would probably do it if it was double the price, honestly, looking back. Up front, if it was double the price, I probably would have, thought about it a day or so. But definitely looking back, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like now it's time to scale to the moon. We've gotten some decent progress so far, and it's only going to go up from here. And I plan to continue coming to the calls. The next thing for me is definitely working on my back end offer now. So I'm definitely going to rely on you guys with help for that. So yeah, it's definitely 100%. It's been worth it. My business has had a huge change. My social media has had a huge change, and it's just the beginning. So honestly, if looking back, it was one of the best decisions I could have made for my business.
Okay, for sure, my man. So if any of you guys are watching this interview and you want to ask Coach Adam Bannon any questions, just look him up on Instagram at Coach Adam Bannon and let him know any questions. And of course, you can always DM me or Ibrahim on Instagram at Renzo_Guevara and the Ibrahim Ansari if you have any questions as well about our offer. So other than that, if you guys are interested in joining Growthology and seeing results just like Coach Adam Bannon, feel free to DM me or Ibrahim, and then we'll get you all the details about the program.